This is a Mountain News Special Report. Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Hensley. We are on the air to bring you a live news conference from Johnson Central High School from state police and other emergency officials to update the situation on the terrible, tragic flooding that occurred there yesterday. At least one person is dead and several others are still missing. Let's go now to that news conference, which is getting underway at Johnson Central High School.
Which led to a flash flood situation, leaving several people within the area. Seeing their homes swept away by floodwater. The hardest hit areas as of right now that we do see are Staffordsville, Red Bush, and the Flat Gap communities. We can confirm at this time there has been one deceased adult male. This was a result of the flash floodwaters. There are several persons who are unaccounted for. This list, I need you to understand, is a fluid list. It fluctuates from possibly the time that we just received the update to me speaking to you now. The floodwaters wiped out all means of communication, the landlines, and if someone was able to keep their cell phone, are they able to get in touch with their loved ones? So this list is an ever-changing list. Right now, we just want to encourage the public to stay away from the area. It's still a hazardous area with down power lines, the roadway breaking off. So we have troopers posted at intersections of 40 and 172 and Route 689 and 172 that are checking IDs and anyone trying to enter the area. Someone who's not permitted to be there will be turned around and detoured around the area. With that said, I guess we can turn it over to Emergency Management Director.
My name is Gary McClure, Director of Emergency Management of Paintsville and Johnson County. Give a little update on the situation, give a little more information on what our agency is involved in and the measures that we're taking out there now. When the event evolved yesterday afternoon, which our main response was search and rescue, we are continuing that response today. And we have, I think, about 47 National Guard members with vehicles present out there working the scene now, along with volunteers from agencies within Johnson County and about all the surrounding counties. And we are continuing operations. A couple of things I wanted to touch on. We have a shelter open at the Paintsville Recreation Center on Preston Street in Paintsville. It is available to any individuals. If any of the public has questions, needs assistance, naturally, if it's an emergency, dial 911. If they need other types of assistance, shelter, need to report a unaccounted for person, they can call my office at the Emergency Operations Center at 606-789-2260. Thank you.
At this time, if you have any questions, we'll free to answer those. Sir? Sure.
Just because I didn't hear you at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Can you say how many people are unaccounted for at this time and that count?
Like I said, we do have the one confirmed adult male. There's not been any since then. That's not changed as of just the briefing a minute ago. Unaccounted for. And I say this as a fluid list. It's constantly changing, guys. It's at 7 right now, and that is a rough estimate. As we find maybe 2, we'll immediately behind it maybe get a report of 1 or 2 more gone. So that number, like I said, could have changed before it made it from command post to here.
I know earlier this morning there were reports that a child was listed unaccounted for. Do you know the condition? Was that child located?
and we've talked about that, and the details you have to understand are coming in as we get them. It's still really early in the investigation and the search and rescue that we have going on. The youngest right now that we have reports of is 22, and that ranges upwards of 74. So, as you ask about a child, we just can't confirm that at this time.
How many rescue operations have there been throughout the county? People flood water, that kind of thing.
As a total, EM.
Really don't have an exact count, but I would say as of the past 24 hours, probably at least 50
Yeah.
rescues have been performed.
He said approximately 50 rescues has been performed over the last probably 24 hours.
You said there were 47 National Guard vehicles out there. Where are they at right now?
47 personnel.
Personnel. Okay.
And probably at least 20 to 25 trucks and equipment.
Okay. And where are they exactly? Where are they stationed? Do you know where they're looking?
Well, they're in active search mode at the present time, but they are staged at the command post at the highway garage.
Right, the highway garage is our command post that we have going on now. That's just our staging area. It's an active search and rescue, so departments from within 50-mile radius, different fire departments from all around have come out and pledged their support, as well as local law enforcement, state police, and really anyone else that wanted to get a hand in on it is part of the effort.
Can you describe kind of what this effort is, the search and rescue, what they're doing out there, that kind of thing?
As a captain,
Hey, my name's Sean Welch. I'm the post commander for Post 9 with Kentucky State Police. It covers this area, including Johnson County and 4 other counties. As far as the way that's done, obviously that's been a coordinated effort where the officials have mapped out the area. It's a systematic grid-type search, predominantly on the ground. And obviously we're dealing with the difficulties out there of debris and still some austere weather conditions and some very dangerous conditions in terms of the water. Hopefully we get some cooperation from the weather the next few hours, but obviously that's hindering what we're able to do out there. But it's a systematic type of an effort that's coordinated through the incident command post with search teams that are going out, searching specific gridded areas of interest that are shown to be in the affected area or have been assessed to be in that area, and reporting back what their results, what their findings are.
At this point, are the people concentrated in any one area, or is it all around?
Right now there's a number of different people, and the one thing that Trooper Mounts hit on, but I'd like to emphasize a lot, is we are classifying some of these people as unaccounted for, because understandably with the communications disruptions he's talked about, people going to stay with relatives and perhaps they haven't notified other people and they're not able to be gotten a hold of, that gives rise to sometimes breaks in communication where people aren't necessarily missing per se, their whereabouts just aren't known. There were probably going to be people obviously among those numbers that are in fact missing that have been affected by the waters directly. So that's a very fluid situation, and Trooper Mounts mentioned 7 a little bit ago. That's 7 as of probably 30-35 minutes ago, and understand that those numbers round up, they round down as people contact their relatives and they reestablish contact. So at the end of the day, there may not be, that number is likely to go down considerably, but it could also tick up also as people start trying to make connections and call.
What about geographically in the county? Is it any specific area?
Geographically, I think predominantly the area they're looking at is from the Flat Gap community, extending down just the 172 corridor down toward Kentucky 40, just that area down through there, and approximately 8.5 miles in length. I think we estimated last night roughly in excess of 500 households, in excess of around 1,200 residents. Worst case scenario, not all those areas would be directly affected, but we believe it partially at least, that all the areas there in that area have been affected.
What about the incoming storms? I think our meteorologists were expecting some more to move through. What is your plan for that?
Well, we're anticipating that, and obviously that's going to be something we're going to have to work around. Responder safety and public safety, as this moves forward, is going to be a high priority for us. We want to make sure that, obviously we don't want to create more victims or more rescues that need to be conducted in terms of people getting into areas they shouldn't be in. So we're basically just going to have to work around that, monitor the weather, and just basically we're not going to control it. We're just going to have to try to mitigate the risk and try to operate around it as best we can.
What can the public do at this point, staying away from these affected
At this point, sir, I think we are, and again, all the agencies, we're in a unified command type of setting, so there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of communication back and forth in terms of what resources are needed. So far, I think those are being satisfied very well at this point. The best thing that we would ask of the local population and people who might be inclined to want to drive into the area is just to completely avoid any travel up in the area if they don't need to absolutely be there, if they don't have a reason to be there and they're not a resident there. It creates a lot of gridlock and a lot of problems because obviously there's utility crews are going to be in the area, there's the search and rescue effort itself that's going on, and people obviously trying to clean up their property and deal with issues like that, and understanding there's the natural curiosity that people want to fulfill by going up there, but it really hinders the quality of life for these folks and the ability of us to be able to get them back to some semblance of normalcy and conduct the operations we need to. So we're just asking for the public's cooperation in that.
If someone does have someone trying to find that lives on Bob's Branch, and without communication, is there a route they can take to check into their name?
If I didn't hear the first part of your question,
if you're
sir.
seeking someone who can't grandma out there, what's the best way to do that at this point?
At this point, we're recommending that if they have someone unaccounted for, to either contact the state police post at Pikeville, which is 606-433-7711, or the local dispatch here in Johnson County, and we can. Again, this is a very active, dynamic list of people, and what we're going to attempt to do is just through our first responders that are out in the area. We have roving patrols of troopers that are out in the area as well. Get out, and our first thing is obviously going to be go out, try to find out where these people lived, speak with neighbors, people in the area that may have knowledge directly of who they went to stay with or where they went and so forth, and just kind of try to weed out the simple communications breakdowns from people who are genuinely missing. But that would probably be the best two resources. Call local law enforcement, local dispatch, or the state police in Pikeville, and we'll respond accordingly to that.
A lot of people are asking us what they can do to help. I know you said stay out of the area, but is there something at the staging area or somewhere else people can bring help?
That's something I would defer to our local emergency management, local officials on.
At this particular time, we're still good on resources, okay? And a couple things I want to mention. The Red Cross has been with us out there all day, providing assistance to the first responders, and also they will be out doing Red Cross damage assessment. And at some point in the next few days, there will be assistance from the Red Cross for the individuals out there. So we've got a lot of support from them. We've had a lot of calls about people wanting to make some type of donations. At this point, donations, we would ask, no clothing or anything of that type. We have some churches that are doing some things like supplies, baby supplies, diapers, those sort of items. And, we've got a couple of churches, working on that. At this point, and then so early into this disaster, it's going to take us a few days to really get our feet on the ground and figure out, what other supplies of donations that we need. 3 years ago from our tornado event, we do have a long-term recovery committee, Johnson County Long-Term Recovery Committee. That committee is still active. It is up and running. And if anyone wants to make monetary donations to that, and it was the fund that was used during the tornado, they can contact the county judge's office at 606-789-2550. And we would more than gladly accept those donations to help all of these folks out.
Do you know at this point how many homes have been destroyed, or at least a ballpark? I know we were talking about at least 40 yesterday.
It's tough. We've just got those first responders on the ground after that weather this morning. But I think we're going to get up in the neighborhood of at least 150. And that's a rough guesstimate. Any other questions for me?
Right, like what he said, the boots are on the ground now. These numbers will change. It's just so early on that we're just giving you pretty much a vague guess. Looking over maybe from an aerial map of it, you're looking at 500 homes within the communities that are affected. You may find one home's been completely demolished with the structure next to it completely fine. And so that's why it's kind of hard to estimate right now on how many homes are affected. And we're out there looking at that right now. Any other questions? All right, I guess that concludes that.
Folks, we also know there's interest in obviously getting video footage and so on. Trooper Mounts and I can speak with you after the conference concludes, and we'll facilitate that effort. Obviously, we're going to try to do it in a way that's minimally intrusive up there, but we want to respect your needs also, so we'll coordinate that with you right after this.
Yeah, we'll try to do it as coordinated as we can. Just get up there. Well, I'll probably stop as one, get out, get what footage we can, and then try to get there with as little footprint as possible. That way they can continue their search and rescue without being too evasive. Thank you.
All right, that concludes a news conference at Johnson Central High School. Several officials updating the public on what's been going on since this devastating flash flood yesterday. Just going over some highlights, they say the worst areas affected are Staffordsville, Red Bush, and obviously the Flat Gap area. The death toll still stands at 1. Fortunately, it has not gone up overnight. Several people, however, are still unaccounted for, although that number is down from last night. At 11 o'clock last night, it was at 11. Right now, it stands at 7, and they say that number is continuously fluctuating, and they hope that many of those people are just unaccounted for but are fine. They say they range in age from 22 to 74 years old. There was a question about a rumor that a child is among the missing. They say that is not confirmed, so that at this point it is not believed to be the case. All means of communication are down in that area. Police are urging folks to stay away from those flooded areas and let rescue crews do their work. It does sound like they are going to let the media in briefly today, so we will have a better look at what's happened there. Around 50 rescues, it's estimated, have happened in that area in the last 24 hours. The National Guard is there helping with search efforts. The Red Cross is helping. This is still being called an active search and rescue effort. They are still trying to find folks who may be possibly trapped but still alive. Again, the latest number of unaccounted for is 7. And this startling statistic that was just given, an estimate, a rough estimate, that maybe as many as 150 homes affected, either damaged or destroyed by these floodwaters in Johnson County. Obviously, Johnson County, the hardest hit by flooding in our area. Rowan County in northeastern Kentucky also hit very hard. But Johnson County, just parts of Johnson County were absolutely devastated by this flooding. And unfortunately, we could see more severe weather later today. Right now, we're getting somewhat of a break, but let's check in with meteorologist Chris Johnson for an update on what's ahead today. Chris?
Yes, Steve, the chance for more strong, even severe storms is going to be possible into the afternoon and evening hours. And the bad news is we're only a couple of rounds away. I mean, we have another shot for some strong, even severe storms this afternoon. Not the news that we want to hear, especially with the flooding concerns we've already dealt with, and especially for the folks there in Johnson County, some of the surrounding counties, including Morgan and Rowan County, dealt with some heavy rainfall as well. But let's take it to live pinpoint Doppler this morning. Still seeing some of that activity across the Cumberland Valley, just south of London and south of Somerset. That's pushing off towards the south and east. Now, the good news is you look back off towards the north and west, nice and dry, and that's the way it's going to stay through the morning hours through about mid-afternoon or so. And then we're going to see yet another round, bringing a chance for some strong, even severe storms into eastern Kentucky this evening. So something we're going to continue to track here in the Sky Alert Weather Center. Now, looking at pinpoint, showing you some of the warnings here. These green boxes indicate the flash flood warnings for several counties dealing with some of the heavier rainfall across the Cumberland Valley. That does include Somerset and London. Of course, that stretches towards the south and east into far southeastern Kentucky, heading into eastern Tennessee, as they had several rounds of those showers and storms move in this morning. Now, I want to touch on some of the storm totals we've had. And looking at pinpoint here, you can see the hardest hit areas, as you had mentioned, Steve, we're seeing around 3 to 4 inches along the Johnson County, Morgan County line. So very, very heavy rainfall over the past several hours. And that's what led to a lot of the flooding issues. Just to the north and west, there in northern parts of Rowan County, Moorhead, widespread 1 to 2 inches. But that northern part of the county, upwards to about 2, even 3 inches of rainfall for that area. And as we take it down to the south, a widespread 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. The case as that complex moved through earlier this morning, bringing heavy rainfall across all of eastern and southeastern Kentucky. And as I'd mentioned, unfortunately, another round expected as we head into the afternoon and evening hours. Now, flash flood watch does remain in effect for a good chunk of eastern Kentucky until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Even a few of the counties there in West Virginia and western parts of Virginia included in that flash flood watch. And here's what we're expecting as we head into Tuesday afternoon or this afternoon into the evening hours. Of course, we had the multiple rounds of showers and storms, that heavy rain, along with some flash flooding issues early this morning. And now, as we're expecting, things beginning to quiet down just a little bit. And as we're heading through the latter part of our morning into mid-afternoon, look for a brief break to occur. Been looking over some of the latest data. We could even see some sunshine beginning to break back out. And folks, that's not good news. We do not want to see sunshine later on this afternoon, as that could help destabilize the atmosphere, make the atmosphere a little bit more unstable. And that's going to allow for more strong, even severe thunderstorms to develop later on this afternoon into the evening hours. And you can see the threat continue into about 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. And then finally, we could catch a break as Mother Nature continues to send plenty of rainfall across southeastern Kentucky. Now, looking at Future View, wanted to plan this out for you. Start things off at 11 a.m. this morning, showing you some cloud cover. Future View not doing a great job with the clouds. I think that's going to push towards the south and east. We'll see some sunshine begin to break out later on this afternoon. Now, by around 6 or 7 o'clock, as we head into the evening hours, you can see more storms beginning to pop up to our north. So taking a similar track to what we've seen over the last several days. These are going to congeal, form a squall line. That's going to work towards the south and east, bringing yet again another threat for some damaging winds, heavy rainfall. The possibility of some large hail also going to be the case, with an isolated threat for maybe a brief spin-up tornado. And that depends solely on if we see a lot of sunshine or not as we head into the afternoon hours. Nonetheless, that line's going to track towards the south and east, heading into southeastern Kentucky around 9 to 10 o'clock tonight, before finally pushing off towards the south and east, clearing the state. And some good news that everybody's been wanting to hear. We're finally going to dry things out. Maybe a stray shower as we head into Wednesday afternoon. Otherwise, look for temperatures to remain on the warm and muggy side. And then we're going to see Thursday and Friday shape up fairly nice, just warm. Of course, temperatures back into the mid to upper 80s. That's good because we need to dry things out, and rain chances look next to none as we head towards the latter part of the week. And unfortunately, we could see a few pop-up showers of storms as we do head into your weekend, but temperatures are going to be on the warm side. So that severe weather threat breaks down like this. We're at an extreme threat for flash flooding. Of course, any more rainfall or any additional rainfall we get will only aggravate any flooding issues across all of eastern Kentucky. Damaging wind, pretty high threat too with these storms. Hail, moderate threat, and of course a tornado on the lower end, but certainly possible as we do head into the afternoon and evening hours with that next line of storms expected to come through. And here's a look at that 7-day forecast. As I was talking about, temperatures on the warm and muggy side. But look at Thursday and Friday, Steve. We're going to catch a nice break. And I tell you what, Mother Nature has sent several rounds of these strong and severe storms across eastern and southeastern Kentucky. So this break will be well deserved, and hoping we can catch a break for some of this severe weather. And unfortunately, maybe some more storm chances back into the forecast by late weekend into early next week.
We certainly need a break, and in case you're just joining us, so we just carried a news conference live from Johnson County updating the flooding situation. Here are some of the highlights. 7 people still missing, about 150 homes damaged or destroyed. That number will fluctuate, and the death toll remains at 1. Fortunately, that has not climbed, and the number of missing has actually gone down, but they say that number is constantly changing. It is still a search and rescue operation right now, and they are basically looking for these missing folks, and hopefully they're just staying with relatives and haven't contacted anybody yet and are not actually missing. Chris, I want to go back. We got some incredible video this morning of homes literally being washed away, and I'm not sure I've ever seen anything quite like this in eastern Kentucky. Just your thoughts on this video, Chris.
It's absolutely devastating, and it really hurts to see this, because these are people's homes. I mean, stuff they've built for, their whole life, worked for, and it's just literally washing away down this high rising floodwater. And this is just very sad to see. And Steve, this is why we do severe weather alert day here at WYMT, because this is what we're trying to protect you guys from. And see that video there with that? I have never ever seen anything like this in my entire life. Now, I've only been in this business for a short amount of time, but this is absolutely devastating to watch, Steve, and it really just hurts to watch and see this video. I feel for these families, and I want to try and stay optimistic for everybody here in Eastern Kentucky.
Well, you are new to Eastern Kentucky. Obviously, flooding is something we deal with a lot here, but I've never seen entire homes just floating down the creek like that. Just incredible. Heard stories about it from like the 57 and 77 river floods. I can remember my dad telling me when he was a young boy in the 57 flood, he remembered entire houses floating down the river, and that's something that stays with you, you know, forever. But fortunately, you know, it's not going to take a lot more rain to maybe cause a scene like that again somewhere, and let's just hope that it doesn't happen. But we got to be prepared.
And like I was saying, I think we're going to catch a break as we head in the late week and try to dry things out. Now, of course, you have to remember when we pick up heavy rainfall like this, it doesn't directly affect you right away. It usually takes a little bit of time, and I'm afraid with just the water, all the rain we've picked up, the ground's already saturated. Still some flooding concerns left on the table for the next couple of days, despite the rainfall coming to an end.
All right. Well, Chris, thank you for being with us this morning. And that's going to wrap up our coverage for now, but keep it here to WYMT and WYMT.com. The rest of the afternoon and evening we'll have updates. You can continuously see the warnings there at the top of your screen. We will break in as necessary. We also have reporters covering all the damage today, and we'll have updates today at 4 and 6. But for now, along with Chris Johnson, I'm Steve Hensley. Have a good afternoon.